Good morning, everyone. This is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of Sublimation graphics and tutorials on Facebook. Today I'm going to show you guys how to create the grunge swatch backgrounds using Affinity Designer. These backgrounds are so versatile, and one of the reasons why I like them, and you see them here and there with the designs that I do sell in my shop, is because they add a little bit of modern rustic flair to something that's a bit more elegant, like my Faith Bible verse design, which is available in my shop. So the technique I'm going to show you today, I'm going to show you 3 different methods for doing this so that it kind of caters to whatever your skill level is at and whatever resources you have. Even though this tutorial is in Affinity Designer, the basic concept of using a clipping mask or a fill feature exists in all programs, right down to Silhouette Studio and Cricut Design Space. So if you're watching this video and you don't use Affinity Designer, you should be able to trial and error or do a little Google searching to figure out the workaround method for the program that you are using. I'm using Affinity Designer on a Windows PC, so if you're using this on the iPad app or if you're using this on a Mac computer, some of your layout might look a little bit different, but everything should still be there and all be the same. So we're going to start in our designer persona, formerly known as the draw persona. We're going to go to File and New to create a new document space. You can alter your document units here. I always use pixels for designing, of course. 2000 by 2000 is plenty perfect for creating these types of background. You want to make sure you have the color format RGB/8 selected with the color profile sRGB IEC. And then you're going to go ahead and click OK, and it will open up a new workspace. So I'm showing you 3 different methods that will basically cater to whichever skill level you are at. So to start, if you want to use the PNG or JPEG method, which is the first method, first method is 2-part. You'll want to download some sort of grunge style or swatch style background. So you can find these very easily by just going to Google or your preferred search engine and searching brushstroke background, and then isolate one that is black. As you can see, there's a lot of different ones that you can choose from. Some of them are available on stock websites. Some of them you could probably just right-click and download. So you see there's a lot of different ones. So once you have downloaded one of these, whether it's a PNG or JPEG will not matter because I'm going to show you how to work with both, you'll be able to get started. So after you've downloaded that into your computer, you're going to click on the Place Image tool and then select your download. So I'm going to start with the PNG version. And this is one that I created, so this one is not available in my shop. I just saved it in a couple of different formats for this video. All right. So we have imported our PNG file, and we can clearly see that this is an image file. As an image file, if we try, well, we can apply some color to this, but you may not always have this ability. It will depend on, it will really depend on how your image file was made. So this one I made, so I have a little bit more versatility, but you might not find that you have the same capabilities. If that happens, what you're going to do is right-click your swatch and select rasterize. This will turn this into a pixel element, and once it's a pixel element, you can embed any kind of pattern below it. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep it simple for the first one, and I am going to create a rectangle. Select our rectangle tool, create a rectangle, and then choose one of these preset styles. So this blue 3D one's kind of fun. So I've applied this texture to the rectangle, and what we're going to do is we are going to nest this underneath our swatch. So if we just click and drag this in the layers panel below the icon, you'll see that all it did was put it below our swatch. It didn't fill it. in order to fill it, you have to nest it underneath where it says the name of your element. So we're just going to click and drag it under, and now we've created our layer. So it's, as you saw, that was very simple, very straightforward using a JPEG. And then of course you can just go ahead and swap out the fill with a pattern. You can choose a different one that's here. Really, you have all these different options. So, ooh, that gold one's pretty nice. I actually haven't played around with these. These were part of the last Affinity update. So just to give you an idea, when you're using a JPEG, very simple and straightforward. And then if you wanted to export this because you want to sell this, you would just go to File, Export. Make sure that you choose it as a PNG, and you want to make sure you have that transparent background. Click Export, and you'll be able to save it. So I'm going to go ahead and move our PNG just off of our workspace. And now we're going to go ahead and I'll show you how to use the JPEG. Now, typically with a JPEG, it's going to have a white background. So we're going to have to remove that background, and then we can go ahead and apply our pattern. So we'll start by hitting our Place Image tool, and we'll select our other version. We're going to click and drag to size it the way that we want. If you just click once, it's going to export the maximum size, and then you'll just have to resize it down. So the first thing we need to do to remove this white background is select the pixel persona. You're then going to right-click and rasterize your image, which you'll remember we just did that with the PNG format as well, but you need to do that to remove the background. You're going to go to Select Slant Bold Color, and this only works in the pixel persona. And once you click that color, it's going to put the marching ants all around everything that is not that color. You're going to hit Apply, and then you're going to hit the Delete button on your keyboard, and it will remove the background, just like that. Very simple. And then just select and deselect all to remove those marching ants, and we'll click back on our designer persona to go back to where we want it to work. So now, once again, we have a pixel image, just like when we converted our PNG. And with this, we're going to follow the same process of nesting a pattern underneath the name to fill this and give it the look that we want. So for this one, I'm going to use digital paper. Now, you can find so much digital paper on Etsy, Creative Fabrica, design bundles. A lot of them will have free packs. And I always try and grab them because digital paper is so versatile. And something like this is one of the easiest ways to use it. So I'll go ahead and click on my Place Image tool again. And we'll go over to our digital paper folder. And I just know how much you guys love leopard print, so let's go ahead and grab some of that. And we'll go with this super fun turquoise one, turquoise and orange. Once again, you're going to click and drag so that you can resize it accordingly. And then you will click on it in your layers panel and drag it below the name, not the icon. Remember, if you put it under the icon, it's just going to change the level of the layer. And whenever you're creating designs, everything is in layers, sort of like making a sandwich. So now that we have put it underneath the name, it is inside of that layer. And just like that, you have got the perfect little swatch. And what's nice about using when you use digital paper is you can actually, or you can use photographs, you can use anything you want in here. You can just click on the image in your layers panel, and you can click Replace Image. And then you can very quickly just change out the pattern and have a new one. And once again, you can go to File and Export, and you can save that. And very quickly, you can create a whole bunch of different backgrounds, which you can use for your designs or you can sell. So there was the first method, using a PNG or a JPEG. The second method is using an SVG. Now, the SVG, PNG, and JPEG methods are all options that you can use in every single design program that basically don't cost you anything and require no special skills. So we'll go ahead and hit our Place Image tool again. And I'm going to go to Downloads. I'm going to click on our SVG version of this. And we'll resize that so that we want. Now, anytime you import an SVG into Affinity Designer, it's going to show up as an embedded document. And as such, when you try and change the color, nothing happens. This is because it's an embedded object. So you need to double click it and it will reopen in a new layer. Now you have two options here. The first is that you can right click and copy this and then go back over and move this off and then right click and paste. And now it will be that layered object instead of being an embedded object. And this will give you the ability to, if you have the whole layer selected, you can change the color. Now, what you can't do is add a fill to this with a digital paper as a layered object because it has all of these little pieces. So there's the first option to resolve that, if you have chosen to copy and paste it over here, is simply to right click on your object and hit rasterize. And once you do that, it's going to turn it into the pixel persona, and then we're going to follow that exact same process that I just showed you using any type of digital paper or a colored block. I'm just going to go select another digital paper by clicking on my Place Image tool. We'll use one of these. I love these. And once again, you just click and drag it under the name, and you can move it around if you're looking for a certain part of the texture. And you've just turned your SVG into a pixel and layered that under. Now, if you want to do it over here and you want to keep it as an SVG, you're going to want to select all of your curves. You can do that by hitting Control A, and then you're going to go ahead and select Add. And this is going to make this one curve instead of whatever 200 that are here. And of course, that's 200 different pieces. You would have to go through and color each piece, which is very time consuming and probably not something any of us want to do. You can work with this in the exported, in the new window that it opens, and you can add colors and textures, and you can do all of that stuff here. And then when you click back, oops, I selected the wrong one. When you click back, those changes will appear on your original document screen. You can also, if you don't want to use those options, is you can simply copy and paste this curve again and take it out of the SVG level. So we'll go ahead and copy that, and we can exit out of that, move that one over there, right click and paste, and now we've got our SVG curve here, and you can, once again, you can still color it, add these different default patterns that are here, or you can add your own digital paper, anything that you'd like, really. So we'll go back up to our digital papers again, and we'll just choose something different. And you will once again drag underneath the name to nest it. So that shows you the two different ways to work with an SVG file. And if you want a more in-depth discussion on that, check out our video, How to Jazz Up an SVG File in Affinity Designer. And that goes over a little bit more in depth of how you can make alterations to an SVG and to its different layers so that you can customize it for your own uses. But now that we have covered the first two methods, the two SVG methods and the using a PNG or a JPEG, now I'm going to show you guys the third method, which is to make your own completely from scratch. Once again, it doesn't really matter which method you choose to use. There's so many different options, and they are 100% catered to whatever your skill set is. In order to create your own, you're going to be using the vector brush tool. Now, keep in mind that the pixel persona and the designer persona, one is for vector images, one is for raster images, and that means that even your brush tools might vary. Typically, when you download a brush pack for a design program, it will tell you whether they are vector brushes or raster brushes, or maybe it's a pack that contains both. For today, my favorite Affinity Designer add-on brush pack is chunky markers. So if we go over here to brushes, you'll see some that came already with Affinity. That's the pens, chalks and pastels, acrylics, watercolors, assorted, and textured. And these are really fun to work with. You know, if you wanted to use the watercolor brush, for example, we'll just select one, and we're going to select our vector brush tool. We'll go ahead and resize that. And then you can just kind of draw along with this, and you can, can be its own version of a background as well. Now, when you're using the vector brush tool in the designer persona, you're going to notice that it comes up as each individual curves. This is a little bit different than in the pixel persona, because in the pixel persona, it comes up as one solid pixel layer. I prefer to use the vector brushes for this sort of thing, because then if there's one I don't like this one, I'm not really crazy about this little squiggle, you can just go ahead and delete that one stroke. And this one with this funky curve at the end, I'm also not really crazy about. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, I don't like this little swooshy curve at the end, so I can go ahead and delete that one as well. And then you can even move them around if you feel like you've got a little bit too much concentration somewhere, or maybe not enough in another area. So you can go ahead and work with your different curves and arrange them however you would like. So that's one of the reasons I like using the vector brushes. Now, and we want to go ahead and make this one solid piece if we're trying to create a swatchy background. So in order to do that, you just click and drag. Make sure you have all of your curved pieces selected. You're going to right click and hit group. And then you're going to click on your object, right click again, and you're going to hit rasterize. And ta-da! It makes it one piece. If you try and do this using the combine tool, show you that really quick. So I just hit undo. If you select all of these and try and use the add tool, you're going to notice that you get these lines, because now it's connecting all of your lines, and you get, that's not really the look I was going for. I guess if I was doing a retro background that would work, but that's not the look I'm going for now. So we'll just undo that again. And just to show you once again, you're going to make sure everything is grouped, and then you will rasterize. And now you've created a pixel layer, which again, you can go ahead and add any kind of digital paper to, or background that you've created. You can add a photo to it. Really, there's just a million different options of what you can do. So I'll click and drag and put that under there. All right, well, this one wasn't the best example because it's a little hard to see. Sorry about that. So we'll just replace image, and we'll choose one of these construction ones. There we go, a little bit easier to see. So now we've got a perfect background for a design for boys, or, you know, a children's design. All right, so that was just showing you the watercolor brushes. Now, for me, my absolute favorite brush pack is called Chunky Markers, and this is one that's available on the Affinity website. I like this one because it probably has the most versatility for creating those grungy brushstroke looking backgrounds if you're not looking for a watercolored feature and you want something that's a little bit more solid. So I'm going to click on the chunky markers, and I know that I want my centerpiece to be relatively solid. So with that in mind, I'm actually just going to make a rectangle to start. So I clicked on my rectangle tool, and let's click on my move tool so I can move this again. And I've just kind of got our square to start. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my brush tool to give this, you know, those textured edges. So we'll go ahead and select any of these are great options. Let's see. I think I'll start with this brush, And we'll again select the vector brush tool. And then we're just going to add our little strokes to give this that edge that we're looking for. And of course, you can increase your brush size so that you have bigger feathers. I don't even know what to call them. And you're just going to click and drag. Basically, there's nothing too complicated about this. If you're using a drawing tablet, it might go a little bit faster for you. All right. So I really like those as it is, so I'm going to actually just click and drag and duplicate them. And then I'm going to hit the flip horizontal, and that way I can put them on this end also. And now I'm just going to kind of fill out the top and bottom, and we'll use a different brush for that. Let's see how this one looks. So we'll choose our brush stroke. In our brushes panel, we'll click on our vector tool, and then maybe we'll resize this just a little bit. There we go. All right, and just like that, we have created another swatchy background. So really there's just so much versatility in how you can play around with this. You might want to add some splatter effects, which you can download those. You could also find splatter effects in some of the assets that are included or that you can purchase for Affinity Designer. All of those are going to be additional expenses, but just for what you're basic working with, you do have quite a few options. So once again, we want to make this one solid piece. So we're going to click and drag our entire, all of our curves, and we're going to right click and group, and then we will click on our group object and hit rasterize, create that pixel layer, and we're going to go ahead and add any texture that we would like to this. And of course you can kind of tilt it if that's the look you're going for your design. Place image. Click on our place image tool. We got some denim lace. And then once again, you click and drag under the pixel name and you have created a swatch. So I hope that this video was helpful. It is, like I said, it's very straightforward, really a very easy concept. And you can do this in every single design program. And this gives you the ability to create fun backgrounds for different types of designs that you might want to create. And honestly, a simple background can make all the difference in the type of design that you make and make it more appealing for your potential customer base. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you're joining us live, then thank you for taking time out of your day. And if you're catching this on YouTube, be sure to come join our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/sub that US. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.